2025 for the 7th annual Mayor's International Bike Ride. You're looking at the cyclists right there in our back mirror. We're coming to you live from the Cocopah Police Mobile Command Unit. There are 2 sets of cameras on this vehicle. Each set is costing about $10,000, but look at the clarity of that image. You can see the cyclists as they're heading down south of the highway to the next stop, which is going to be in San Luis. And joining us live, Jasmine is back. How are you doing?
Yes, hi. I didn't introduce myself correctly in the last interview because I was a little bit nervous.
Here's your chance.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Samudio. I'm the new Economic Development Director here for the It's awesome. To be honest, I'm not from the area. I moved here around 7 years ago.
Where
right?
from?
I'm from El Centro, Rio Valley.
Right next door.
Yes, and originally from Salinas, California. So I moved around quite a bit. And I'll tell you, Yuma County is probably the most family-oriented county I have lived in. Like I mentioned, I've lived in several counties, and this is by far the most community-based counties that I lived in. And I encourage everybody to come out here and check out the area and join us in this international bike ride. Even if you're not from here, we invite all counties out here.
There's about 200 cyclists that are...
I heard a different number. Maybe we can correct that later. I've heard 300.
300? It could be. They had 200 when we were setting up at the Yuma Civic Center. The route goes from the Yuma Civic Center all the way down across the international border. It ends in Benito Juarez Park in Rio Colorado. It's about 25, 26 miles with several stops along the way. For some people, it's a ride, and for others, it's a race.
Yes, but we like to emphasize that it's a ride. But of course, if you are a trained athlete, you can take the lead. But we like to encourage this as a family event because we want family here, we want children, we want friends, we want gathering. And of course, at the end of the ride, we are in San Luis, Rio Colorado, like John mentioned, and country. And
it's a pretty smooth ride. I mean, there's a few ups and downs, some hills, some depressions, things like that, but it's pretty smooth. You can tell to Moctezuma Park, also known as Pep Park, and this is in San Luis. It's the last stop.
San Luis, Arizona.
The last stop in Arizona before they cross the international border.
Yes.
And there, the mayors are going to be giving their final remarks, and we're participating in the ride next year?
I definitely will. I came in this, I got this position about 6 weeks ago, some kind of where. Oh, yeah. And next year I'll definitely ride with my mayor and council.
And Summerton has a lot of fun events coming up. They also have the Tamale Festival.
Yes, we actually have the Corn Festival, the Tamale Festival, all things Christmas, Thanksgiving. We celebrate tradition and family gatherings. And it's a beautiful cities have events. It's nice to know that there's events and we don't have to go out to Yuma, San Diego and spend money. When here locally, you guys have a lot of events and it's family commodity, and people really enjoy that about us.
Absolutely. Summerton is a very family-friendly community, as is Yuma and all the other communities
Yes, definitely.
here.
Yeah.
And with this event in particular, even though it's a pretty long trek, it's a safe ride. We have a lot of law enforcement and first responders that are watching over everyone to make sure that they get to their destination safely. You can see that this is a big event, and it's getting bigger every year, and wouldn't be surprised to see if this tops out possibly 400, 500 in the next couple of years.
Great way to come. What I like about it is it's a ride as we promote it, not a race. And that way, I feel like when people hear it's a 26-mile ride, they kind of get scared a minute break. And there's always water and treats for our participants so they can refuel. You can take pictures, get to know other people from your community, and from there we take off to another stop. And so I feel like it's designed to invite all participants from all athletic levels, from all ages, and even from outside the county, like I mentioned earlier.
And what were your first thoughts? We started off at the Yuma Civic Center.
To be honest, I was quite shocked at how many people participated. Personally, I have a background in bodybuilding before I had my 2 children, but even the number 26 miles is a little bit intimidating for somebody who isn't well prepped and a seasoned athlete. So to me, to hear 26 miles, it's kind of like, oh, that's not really my thing. But now that I'm seeing the layout, I'm even willing to bring my children who are a lot younger to ride with me next year.
We saw a lot of kids. We saw a lot of youngsters of all ages participating in this event.
Yes.
So it's good to see that. And, also it, promotes, as you talked about, the goodwill, community relations, international relations, and also promotes healthy lifestyles, healthy living, getting
Yes.
out there, getting in some sunshine, doing some cardio. That's important. I do cardio 5 days a week, do strength training 3 days a week, and it's important. You get in that routine, you feel good, and if you don't do it, it doesn't feel right.
You lose it, yeah.
And you know this as you did a lot of bodybuilding. What inspired?
You want to be in tip-top shape when you're working with in that environment, in law
Sure.
enforcement, in the prison. In the prison, there is a lot of stairs that you have to climb up and down, so you can go to different cell blocks. So of course, you want to be at your peak when you're working in that area, not only for survival, but for the job in general, because
Tough
it's
job.
tiring, and you're often carrying vests or carrying equipment, radio, and keys, and it can get heavy. So mentally, I wanted to train myself to be fit for my job, but then I created a passion for it. I competed in several bodybuilding competitions, and then I decided to take a break when I started my restaurant business.
Wow.
And then next thing you know, I had 2 babies back to back.
There you go. The toughest job of all.
Yes, the
Being a
toughest
mom,
job,
and probably the
definitely.
most rewarding.
Definitely, they're definitely getting into the cute stage. So we're past the crybaby stage, and we're getting into the cute stage. So I'm definitely enjoying it now more than ever.
I know people who never get past the crybaby stage. I'm not going to mention any names, that's
Yeah.
for sure. But hey, switching gears, let's talk about this. Since we're heading towards the international border, I was just talking with Joe Angeles the other day, who is part of our IT department. He's talking about that there's some infrastructure improvements going on at the international border. Are you familiar with some of those changes?
Infrastructure improvements, I cannot comment on that because I don't know too much. I do know right now the line is limited in towards of going into Mexico and coming out to Mexico, so the lines are a little bit longer than usual. And then alongside the season workers that are here already. So it is a little bit tough to cross over. However, San Luis is a very vibrant city. There's lots of places to eat there. And it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait to go into Mexico and the wait to come back.
And this is part of our life, our business, our culture, is those collaborations that people come across the border both ways to go to work or to go to school or transporting goods, things like that. We work with a company that does a lot of printing, and they're located in Mexico. So this is something that is just an integral part of life here in the Southwest.
That's actually something Mayor Nichols mentioned, that we are doing this event to show our good faith with our neighboring country, which is Mexico, San Luis Rio Colorado. But it's not something that we're only doing once. It's something that is common for us to cross the border, to get some goods from over there, to enjoy their culture, to enjoy their restaurants, which I will comment on that. I would say San Luis, Mexico, is leading the pack in terms of healthy food eating. They offer a variety of healthy food, but actually I would consider it actually healthy. For example, they have jicama chips that they sell, nopale chips, things that are traditionally vegetables here that we wouldn't consider it tasteful. They find a way to make it tasteful in their cuisine, and it's enjoyable.
Now, you said you had a restaurant at one point.
Yes, I actually had a healthy restaurant. It's called Your Greens. They're still open. I ended up selling it in 2020 after the pandemic. They actually offer wraps and salads, and you make your own salad, and it's actually very tasteful. And I highly recommend it to anybody that's out in Somerton or San Luis to try the restaurant.
Well, I can tell you what, our director Juana and I go to Your Greens quite often.
Oh, that's
We
great.
usually pack our lunches, but the days that we don't pack our lunch, that's our first choice to go to. It's really good food. It is very healthy food.
It's very good, and what I love about it is that it's young, it's hip, not young and hip, but it's young and healthy, and it's targeted towards a younger population who enjoys healthy eating. But I really enjoyed that we incorporated our culture into the food. So for example, we give wraps, and they give wraps, and they give a little chilito sauce, and you pour it on top of the wrap, and you eat it, and it's so tasteful. And mostly important, it feels satisfying. Sometimes you eat a hamburger and you get full, but you don't have that satisfying feeling afterwards. One thing about Your Greens, and I think most healthy restaurants, that key ingredient for them is that satisfaction tasteful feeling after you finish it.
And we're not making any money off this. We're not getting commission. It's
No,
not
no,
a
no, no,
commercial.
no.
We're just talking about healthy eating. And it's kind of tough in the restaurant business these days because prices have gone up.
Yes,
Inflation
yes.
just across the board. It's gotten more expensive to eat out.
Oh, it definitely has gotten more expensive, but you'll be surprised. We've been reading some statistics lately about the restaurant industry, and actually restaurant purchases have gone up, or eating out has gone up 3.2% in the past quarter.
Really?
And I feel like that is because not only are people loosening up after 2020 and we're traveling more and eating out more, but also our younger generation, which is Gen Z, is starting to get into the workforce. And they, of course, enjoy eating out. And pretty soon, I don't think there's been a big argument that the restaurant industry might die, and I highly, highly doubt that. I think Gen Z, they love going out to eat. They love camaraderie around food, and I believe they're going to train their children to be the same way. And so I don't feel like the restaurant industry is going anywhere. But I will say the restaurant industry is, to be part of, is a challenging one.
It's changing also. There was a huge report that was done, this was before the pandemic, talking about that we in the United States have reached peak restaurants. There's been too many restaurants.
Oh,
some
okay,
of which
that's
are owned not necessarily by a big name chef, but they're owned by a corporation. And now with the new shift, what this article, what this report was talking about is the restaurant of the future is going to have a limited menu. There's going to be the servers busing their own table. Okay, so it's not going to be the old school where you had this big restaurant that would serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It may be just breakfast and lunch, or it may be just dinner, or it may be small plates. So it's shifting, as you duly noted, with the demographic change. It's a new generation that's got different tastes, different standards, different motivations, and so those restaurants are changing with the times, and that's what's happening. So.
Yeah. So you think that restaurants? Do you think restaurants can survive financially if they shift to that?
But they'll be smaller. They won't be as big. They'll see.
So they won't be,
big
in square footage.
No, I mean the ones I remember growing up was just a huge restaurant that had everything on the menu. Instead, it's getting more specialized. It's getting more specialized to organic food, locally grown food, more of a bistro type of environment.
An artisan
type of more of artisan type of environment, and they're also doing things. They're not just serving lunch and dinner; they're doing catering. You got to keep those ovens working, just like the newspaper business. Yeah, just like with newspapers, they don't just print the newspaper; they do commercial printing as well. So same thing with the restaurants; they have to keep those kitchens humming to make money for dine-in, for carry-out, for catering, things like that.
Yeah, I definitely see that, and I do think that could possibly help restaurants a little bit better. Like you mentioned in the past, before you would offer a variety of different menu options, and as a business owner, from my business owner experience with the restaurant, keeping up with that inventory is hard, especially with non-perishables, with perishables. So I can see how that can definitely help business owners understand their menu better and also keep a better track of their inventory. So I do see how that could definitely help future restaurants be more profitable than they are now. And also, since you have a smaller menu, you can probably pinpoint who your market is, your market range, and you can definitely zone in on that market and find ways to market them better and to satisfy them. And I think that one thing about Gen Z is that they're willing to spend for something that it fits perfect for them.
Definitely. We're going to take a little pause here. We're at a standstill right now. We're not sure why, but the traffic has stopped, so things are slowing down a little bit, and we're going to get back to the race as soon as possible. Otherwise, we can keep talking about the restaurant business.
Oh, yeah.
My family was in the restaurant business.
Oh, what business did they own?
Well, it was the Seafood Bay, which is my Uncle Nick, and that was the fine dining seafood with the lobster tank and the crab tank.
Oh, that's
so now, wait a minute, we're moving again now. We seem to have a traffic jam that is slowly unfolding, and we're actually moving, albeit at a very slow pace, but we are going to get there. Yeah, let's take a quick look. You can see the cars are backed up a little bit, but at least we are moving in the right direction. But back to the restaurant business, my one uncle had the Seafood Bay restaurant, which it was the fine dining seafood. His brother, my Uncle Mike, had the diner, like the Mel's Diner, like from the 1950s type of thing. Ironically, that's how my parents met, was through that diner.
Oh, through the diner.
But those are the old days.
But where was this located?
This is in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, you're from Ohio.
From Ohio
okay.
originally.
So how'd you end up in Yuma?
Well, a big wind picked me up and tossed me across the... No,
that's everyone's story.
I was in the military. I was stationed in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And it was the first time I came out west, and I just fell in love with Arizona, and I swore that I was going to make it my home one of these days. And when I got that chance, I took it, and I never looked back. It's a beautiful
So many
place to
people
live.
say the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. This is a beautiful part of the country to live in. Mountains, blue skies, sunshine, year-round hunting and fishing and hiking, all that stuff.
And we're in the center of San
All of that.
San Diego of LA,
That's
San
it.
Diego of Phoenix,
You got it.
Tucson, and international borders such as San Luis Rio Colorado, Mexicali, Nogales. So
There's always something
Juarez,
to do. There's always
yeah.
some place to go. It's an adventure,
Yeah.
whichever way you go.
Definitely. One year, this is the funny story, we actually drove to Texas, to Ciudad de Juarez,
Okay.
and back in one day.
One day,
Yeah.
did you stop?
No, we didn't stop.
You just
Oh,
kept
we
the-
stopped. We did what we had to do. We just picked up a car we bought, and then we drove back.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
You
but
put some
my
miles
point-
on that
yeah,
vehicle.
my point is that we're in the middle of pretty good regions. So,
Oh, absolutely.
Yuma is always a good place to live, and I hear a lot of people same thing. They moved here because of military,
Yep.
and they don't leave. They just like it here, which is great because we always need our population to grow.
And we have a very diverse population. That's the interesting
Yes.
thing. We've got people from all around the country, all
Yes.
around the world that come out here. At one point, this is a little bit of history, the winter visitors outnumbered the year-round residents in Yuma.
Oh, that's
At one
funny.
point, it was that way. That's
Yeah.
not that way anymore. But yes, it is a very diverse community, and with both Imperial County and with Yuma County, it is very diverse. And as you said, people come from all around, and so that brings a lot of experience
Yes.
from different places, different professions out here. And I think that's what makes us culturally rich.
Definitely. Do you come often to San Luis, Arizona?
I come down here once in a while. I've been in Algodones more often. I used to spend a lot of time in Nogales.
Nogales.
Back in the day, I was in Nogales when Vicente Fox got elected in
Okay.
Mexico. Remember that?
No.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, no.
A long time ago. This gray hair testifies to that one.
Yes.
But essentially, no, it is a very diverse community, and there's always some place to go, some place to explore. This past summer, I went down to Tumacacori.
Where's
and
that?
to Tumac, that is south of Tucson. Tumacacori was a mission, and there are different histories and cultures there with Native American, with Spanish, with European settlers, and it is just fascinating. It's part of the national park system, and it's just fascinating to see that history and how they've been able to preserve that history for us to learn. And this Yuma County, Southwest, this is very rich in history. There's a lot of history here. And hopefully more people will be able to come out and take advantage of that and learn more about that. That's an important thing. At Cocopah, we had our pop-up museum
Yes.
at the corner store, and that was an opportunity for participants in this ride. They could learn a little bit about Cocopah culture and get some refreshments along the way.
Yes.
So that's always a good thing.
So you guys are stationed in Cocopah Corner Store? Am I
No.
getting that right?
That's the East Reservation. There's 3 reservations: the North, the
okay.
East, and the West.
Okay.
And where you see the corner store, the casino, the resort, that's part of the East reservations. The heart of the government is deeper into Somerton, off of County 14th, 14E, and that is the West Reservation, which, in addition to housing, that is the seat of our government. And then the North Reservation is up on Strand Avenue near the California border. That's where we also have the Cocopah RV and Golf Resort.
Oh, okay.
So
I
they're
understand.
non-contiguous. They're non-contiguous.
Okay. Like I mentioned, I'm not from here, so I'm still learning about
it's
my
something to
own
learn.
county. And even though I've been here 7 years, I'm always learning. Like right now, I just learned about the Cocopah Reservation, which I wasn't sure.
And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to cocopah.com.
Yes.
And if you like these videos and these live videos, you can also find them on YouTube. Our news brand is Cocopah Now. Just key that in. You can also click the like button. We're not going to say no to that. Or click the subscribe button.
Yes.
You can keep up with all of Cocopah news, activities, events. And there's a lot. There's a lot that we've been
So
doing.
how long have you been here since you moved from Ohio?
Well, I've been here. This is my second or third round in Yuma. I've traveled around in
Oh,
my career
okay.
as a journalist, and it took me from Ohio to Arizona to Montana to Nebraska to Arkansas, and then back here to Yuma. And I
Yeah.
was very happy to come back here back in 2013.
Wow.
So,
you have been.
I've been back here
You've
for
done your
10
rounds.
years. Oh yeah, plenty. It's like Frank Sinatra said, you only live once, and if you've lived my life, once is enough.
Oh.
Looks
No,
like we're at
I-
a standstill again.
Yeah, no, we're actually, where we're at right now is to cross into the international border. So this is something that San Luis residents have to deal with if they want to come in town. This line in particular is to cross into the international border. And if you want to avoid this line, you would have to go into the inner crossing.
Yeah, we're right at the edge of the city limits where San Luis, we're just about to cross into the San Luis city limits right now. But yeah, we got a little bit to go here because the traffic's going slow, but we should be getting there at some time. I don't know how much traffic there was, but there's more traffic than what we had last year. I don't think we had this
definitely.
type of. Yeah, we didn't have any sort of backup last year. We got pretty smooth. This used to stop at St. Judas Tadeo Church, and we used to have that last ceremony in the parking lot of the church. They moved it now to Moctezuma or Pep Park, which is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get to it. You just turn right.
There's no hill.
No, there's no hill. You turn right on Cesar Chavez Boulevard, go down that hill, and then the park is on your left-hand side. You can't miss it. Really easy. We got there yesterday, and we're going to be meeting up with some folks from San Luis. Possibly one of the San Luis City Councilmen is going to be joining us to MC our live stream from that event, which is the last stop, as we said, before they cross the international border.
Yes. Well, if you're not familiar with San Luis, we have a pretty steep hill going up into our main street and our U.S. border. And I'm glad that they changed it, because even myself, before I found out the layout, I'm like, oh wow, the bike to be the last stop and to go through that big steep hill, it's challenging. I'm sure it's challenging. So I'm pretty glad that you guys changed. Oh, they changed they rearranged the schedule and the bike route. And have you ever done the bike? I didn't ask you.
I have not done this bike ride yet. I do a lot of off-roading. I do a lot of hiking, things like that. But I don't have a bicycle.
No.
No, so
do you know how to
mechanical. Yeah, some mechanical part that I got to fix or it's going to break. So I've got enough mechanical things to deal with.
So you do know how to ride a bike?
Oh yeah.
It's because some people say they know how to ride a bike and they don't know how to ride a bike.
But I'd rather hike.
I'd
rather hike.
What are your favorite places to hike in Yuma?
Well, I like to go to Telegraph Pass, but I really, really enjoy the Painted Desert Trail, which is out in the Pure Wildlife Refuge. If you go on I-95 north, like you're heading to YPG, you take Martinez Lake Road, and it'll take you to the Painted Desert Trail. Red Cloud Mine Road is what that's called. It takes you to the Painted Desert Trail, and it's just a beautiful. It's got all the colors. What they call it. You see purple, you see red, and it's across from the Kofa National Wildlife Refuge. It's another great place to hike and go off-roading. We also have the Museum of the Mines out there. And this is when they had mining operations at Kofa. It was its own little city. It was its own little community.
And it was mining?
They were doing mining out there for the longest time, from 1870s, 1880s, all the way up to the 1970s. They got electricity first, I believe, in the 1940s. They brought generators out there. But what's unique about that museum is each different portion of it is a recreation of each different era in history. So you see the old saloon house, you see the old hotel out there, you see the schoolroom, you see even have some of the mines that you can actually walk and explore. So there's a lot of rich history out here in all of these different places. There's also Jester's Peak. Now that's quite a hike. It's got
Where is it at?
That's over in the foothills. That's north, not quite towards Telegraph Pass, but it's got a lot of switchbacks. So you're going back and forth, back and forth. When you get to the top, it's like gravel. There's hardly anything to catch on to. You got to be careful. I'd fallen 4 times on that hike. And if you get to the peak, you get to the top, you got to have all 4 points of contact to get to that flagpole. And I don't go back to the top anymore. Just get close to the top, and that's about it.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of any of these places other than Telegraph Pass.
And then there's Pilot's Knob. Pilot's Knob is just as you get into California.
Oh, I've actually climbed that one.
You climbed that? Did you get the one up to the crucifix on top?
Yes. I actually have pictures of that one.
That is interesting. That's 877 feet high. It doesn't sound like it's that high, but when you get up there and you look down, your vehicle looks like a little toy
tiny car. Yeah.
It's a good hike.
Yeah,
It's a good hike, and there's pretty well-marked trail markers, cairns as they call them.
Yeah. So. I actually took an environmental class in AWC, and the professor, I wish I remember his name, but I don't remember. He actually took us hiking into all the different mountains, and I probably have hiked the ones you've mentioned, but I didn't remember the name
of them.
But they were really interesting. My favorite one was the one by Highway 95, or going towards California, because we passed through that mountain so many times going to California. My family lives in El Centro. So we passed by all the time, and I didn't know people could climb it. So now every time I pass by, I always look to see if I see little people.
There you go.
To see it up there.
The other one that's good is Sedona. If you've ever been hiking up
there.
Oh,
I've been to the Sedona one.
Sedona's good, and I was there a few years ago, 4th of July.
And was it packed?
And did the Red Rock climb. And
yeah, that's the one I've done.
Well, this is like during the pandemic. There were a lot of people out there. And the funny thing was, everybody was in an ebullient, joyful mood. This was around the 4th of July, so everyone had good vibes, good feelings. And it was quite a hike. It took about 3 hours. I started at the one trailhead and came out at the other side at a different trailhead. And by that time, I'm out of food, out of water, so I decided to take an Uber to get back to my car. But it was a beautiful hike. Sedona's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I've done the Sedona hike with friends. It's definitely a commodity, like a group style hike.
Yeah,
You definitely big groups go and hike it, and very young. A lot of college students. A lot of. It kind of felt like we were hiking to a party.
No, I believe that. Have you tried the Telegraph Pass, the hike to the B-17 crash?
No.
Okay, that's a lot of rock climbing. I mean, it starts off with, some real inclines, but then you get in there and it winds up becoming rock climbing. It was a B-17 that crashed.
Yeah.
And this was at the end of World War II, and the wreckage is still up there. Some of the wreckage from that craft is still up
So
there.
the airplane crashed?
Yeah, it was a B-17 bomber, and it crashed into the mountain. And the wreckage is still there, and there's also a monument to the airmen who
But where's
perished
it
in that
located
crash.
at?
It's near Telegraph Pass.
What? I
Yeah.
don't know any of these things.
Been there a couple times.
to.
But it's definitely a haul. I mean, it's rock climbing. It gets to the point you're literally doing rock climbing to get to that site of the crash, and it's got a kind of an eerie vibe to it.
I bet.
To see that wreckage, and then the wind is blowing, and you can hear it rattle a little bit. It's got like I said, a certain vibe there.
Speaking of eerie vibes, we're in October and we're close to
Halloween.
Yeah. Did you get any ghost vibes up there?
I wouldn't say ghost vibes, but maybe just memory that this was a tragic accident, that these guys died and the war was over.
Yes.
And it's just sad. But yeah, there's a monument in their honor that's up there, and I'm glad that they did that to remember those guys.
But do they know what happened? Why did the airplane crash?
Not sure if it had something to do with the navigation or had to do with weather conditions or visibility. I'm not really sure about that, but I'm sure we can Google it and find it.
Oh, that's interesting. Because that's so funny. Because I didn't know any of that.
Oh, there's
but
a lot
that's
of history.
interesting.
A lot of history.
Are you a history buff?
In a way, I would say so. My last newspaper job was in Imperial County with the Imperial Valley Press. I worked out of the Brawley Bureau, and one of the interesting stories that I did when I was out there was about Western Goldfields, which was doing gold mining operations, but not gold mining as in the 49ers. This was actually getting the gold that comes out of the mine, and it's almost like dishwater. Okay, but they're able to extract gold that's used for different circuitry and electronic components, things like that. Well, part of their requirement is to preserve cultural resources, and so they had to be very careful where they do their operations so they don't disturb things like pottery shards and things like that are geocached and tracked by the federal government to preserve them. And what was really interesting about that story was the wagon wheels. There was pottery shards out there from Native Americans, and then there were also wagon wheels from when the pioneers crossed. They're still there to this day.
Oh,
It shows that the history continues, that the history is here. We haven't forgotten it. It's not going to be forgotten because there's a lot of folks that are working and striving diligently to protect and preserve that history and to teach that history.
Yes.
And I think that's important, and I think that we do a pretty good job of that in this part of the country.
And
keeping that history alive and educating people about it.
the same with here in Yuma, we have the Yuma Prison Hill,
That's
or
right.
the
Territorial prison.
Territorial Prison. Yuma Prison Hill is a restaurant.
And we also have the Sanguinetti House.
Yes, which one's that one?
Sanguinetti is the one that's in Yuma, and that was one of the folks back in the day that are part of the founders of this community.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn.
I need to learn more about history of Yuma.
No shortage. You're not going to get bored. And you've been to the Quartermaster. Have you been to that?
No.
The Quartermaster Depot. That's now under the state park system. And that was exactly what it was. It was the Quartermaster. They've got a lot of wonderful historical displays about the history, about the Colorado River. The Cocopah people are known as the final keepers of the river. Cocopah men back in the day were skilled navigators of the river because they knew it every part of the river. The river was not what it is today. It was vast. It was larger. There were a lot more channels before they started constructing dams. It was a big change in this area.
Oh, wow. That's a really interesting fact I didn't know
There's a
before.
lot. Yeah, the Colorado River is what is the actual physical border that separates us from California.
Oh, yeah, I knew that, yes.
Well, I hope you did because you're from California.
Yeah.
You should know that.
And we pass by it.
And we pass by it too almost every day. So
yeah. I actually used to commute to come work I used to live in California, and then I used to commute to come work at the prison here.
Wow.
So a long commute, so you got to know the roads, and you would
Definitely.
certain things are milestones when you're driving, commuting every day. It's the dunes, the river.
Right.
Before there was a border patrol stop.
Yep.
And so now there's no border patrol, but I still count those milestones. Like, oh, okay, we're here. Only 10 minutes till we get there.
And you were from Salinas originally, correct?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Salinas, and I moved to El Centro when I was a freshman.
Okay.
So I didn't have a quinceañera because I didn't know nobody here in El Centro. And then I made my life in El Centro, and at 21, I applied for Cali Corrections and Arizona Corrections. California Corrections froze in hiring, and so when Arizona called me, I took my chance. I was a teen mom, so I was eager to start working and get a real career going.
Salinas is Steinbeck country.
Yes,
John Steinbeck.
yeah. I actually have read several of his books. Which one's your favorite? Have you
My
read
favorite,
any?
well, what haven't I read? There's only one Steinbeck book that I have not read, and that is The Winter of Our Discontent, which
never
was
read
his
that.
last book. I read everything from Of Vice and Men, Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, The Pearl, The Red
Pearl,
Pony,
The Red
The
Pony.
Moon is Down, Travels with Charlie,
Blind Men.
America and the Americans. Which ones are your favorites?
My favorite is The Pearl.
The Pearl.
But the psychology of it, and it has a lot to do with business and the envy of people and money. So
Yeah, that's an amazing story. It's a little gem of a novel. He had several of them that were short, that
Yes.
were real gems, and The Pearl was one of them, of Mice and Men.
Mice and Men.
And The Red Pony.
The Red Pony.
Those were good.
In high school, they actually made us write a essay on The Red Pony, which is funny because if you don't know, The Red Pony is this extremely short book,
Yeah.
and so they want you to write an essay. And it's so funny because you think, well, what can you write about The Red Pony? But everybody had different perceptions of what they read, so it was always interesting. I always encourage professors when I meet them to have their students do that same activity.
Well, back in the day, 1950s, they did East of Eden, starring James Dean and Raymond Macy, and that was the last part of the story East of Eden.
Yes.
This whole story East of Eden actually starts off with Adam and Cal Trask. It was an analogy to Cain and Abel, is what it was.
Oh.
And so it goes from 1880 all the way through after World War I. And so they did a remake of it, ABC novel for television, and it was a miniseries starring Jane Seymour and Joseph and Timothy Bottoms and Warren Oates. And it was a 5-part miniseries, and it followed the book.
Oh.
The dialogue, everything was right from the book. It's one of the few times that you actually get a faithful adaptation of a literary masterpiece such as that. That was outstanding. And also, the other one, a lot of fun, was Cannery Row, and the sequel to that, which was Sweet Thursday. Did you read those?
I started Cannery Row, but I never finished it. It was just one of those books that I never got to finish. And
They made a movie
yeah,
with Nick Nolte, Deborah Winger, Cannery Row. It was David S. Ward who also
Cannery
did
Row.
The Sting. And so he did Cannery Row, and it was a combination of those two books. And it was wonderful because it did follow the books. And it was funny, it was sad, it had all those elements
Yes.
to it. If you get a chance to watch it,
I'll
definitely
watch it.
Cannery
I am
Row.
a movie buff over a book person, so I'll definitely watch the movie over the book.
I'm a book buff over a movie person, but I
Yeah.
like both. As long as they're good.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm a big movie girl. It's funny I say that because my husband, his family used to own a DVD store or a VHS DVD store back in the day during like the Blockbuster days. And when we met, our connection was over movies. And it's so funny because now we're in a relationship for about 9 years now, and our conversation, we always throw in little liners to see if we catch the movie, and we always joke around that who's the better movie buff. So it's just part of our relationship dynamic.
And only now and only here can we go from the bike ride to restaurants,
To
movies, to
yes.
Steinbeck,
Yeah.
careers and corrections, owning
Yes.
restaurants, things like that. So since we're on the movie tack here, what's the last movie you saw that you liked?
I actually saw Barbie.
Oh wow, I can't imagine that.
Yes, I'm indifferent about it. But listen, through and through, I am a business girl. I love business. I love real estate. I love investing. And one of the things that I like to bring up when we talk about Barbie is that a lot of people don't know or mention is that Barbie is probably a multimillionaire because she's an investor. if you consider all the houses she's bought since 1960 to now, she's probably worth close to $1 billion in equity.
Did you have a Barbie? Did you have a Barbie doll growing up?
Yes.
Did you have the Ken doll too?
No.
You just had the Barbie doll.
Just
My
Barbies.
sister had both.
She had both. Yeah. Did you have a Barbie?
G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah.
I'm a G.I. Joe type
She
of
had
guy.
a G.I.
Yeah,
Joe.
G.I. Joe with the helicopter and the Cobra and the Buddha with the jewels in it, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, okay. But do you have daughters? Did they play with Barbie?
I don't have daughters. If I did, I'm going to owe somebody a lot of money. You know, so.
Yeah. What's the last movie you've watched?
Last movie I watched was Reptile. And that
Reptile.
stars Benicio del Toro and Timberlake, Justin Timberlake. It's a murder mystery.
Is it on Netflix or on?
It's on Netflix. You can watch it on streaming. And it's a very intriguing movie. Benicio del Toro, I consider him the modern day Humphrey Bogart. He has limited range, but what he can do with that range with just an expression, just a look, just a little way he says a phrase changes the whole mood and the whole tone. He's got that style.
That it factor.
He plays good guys, he plays bad guys. He doesn't play romantic leads, but he is a deep actor and a very talented actor in that respect. And Humphrey Bogart, same thing. He had very limited range, but it was what he could do within that range that made him such an appeal. And an enduring film actor to this day. Many years after his death.
I'm trying to put a face. I can't.
On Benicio del Toro or Humphrey Bogart?
Benicio del Toro. Is that who you're
Usual
talking about?
Suspects. He was in The Usual Suspects. He was also in Traffic.
Traffic.
He's been in a number of movies.
I need a picture.
Need to go look it up, yeah.
Yeah.
The Usual Suspects is one. Traffic was another one. I think he did another one called The Way of Man, as I recall. Outstanding actor, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. What other movies do you like? What type of movies do you like to watch?
Well, action movies if they're good. If
yeah.
they're good. It has to be more believable action. I can't, if it gets too cartoonish, it's just not fun anymore. But a good drama is good, a comedy is good. I pick and choose whatever just strikes my mood. Whatever strikes my mood at the time. Sometimes it's a Western, sometimes it's an action film.
Yes.
Sometimes independent films are very good. That's the thing with independent films, they're either really, really good or they're really, really bad.
Funky. They're really funky.
I got a funny one for you. It's called Safety Not Guaranteed.
Okay.
Aubrey Plaza's in it. Well, it's on streaming, or you can probably get a DVD. But it's a good independent film. It's funny.
What's it called again?
Safety Not Guaranteed.
Safety Not Guaranteed. That sounds familiar.
The other one is called The Station Agent. It features Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Peter Dinklage is in another one right now. That's coming out.
I know who that is. Yes.
So.
Oh, Game of Thrones. Did you watch the House of Dragons?
No, I didn't watch any of that stuff. I don't like Viking movies.
Why?
No, don't like those.
Oh, I liked you, but now I don't like you.
I don't like it. Just not into it. Just not into the medieval stuff.
No. Oh, we're into the medieval
I did like King Arthur. I did like Excalibur.
That's a good
I think that was
movie.
good. John Boorman was the director of that. That was back in the day. Helen Mirren was in that. Liam Neeson was in that. Yeah, a lot of big names.
So what are your top favorite 6 movies of all time? Top 5.
Top 5 of all time. Well, I would say Casablanca.
Oh, yeah, that's everyone's.
You had to have that one there. Casablanca. The Third Man. I
Never
would
heard of
say probably Usual Suspects. That was
that
good.
One's good.
I'm trying to think. So I'm up to 3 now. Oh, this one you got to see. Everyone's got to see this one. Lonely Are the Brave.
Sounds
Kirk
boring.
Douglas. Oh,
Just kidding.
Lonely Are the Brave. Kirk Douglas. It was more like an art house film, then it became a cult classic.
Art house?
Art house film, like a specialty type of film, but it became very a cult
No,
classic.
but what was the name of it?
Lonely Are the Brave. It's based on the
Are the
book
Brave.
The Brave Cowboy by Edward Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
And it stars Kirk Douglas, and it stars Walter Matthau. And it was filmed, I believe, 1960-61. It's considered a modern Western.
Oh, okay.
He plays a part of John W. Burns, who is very much his own man. He's a free spirit. He's his own man. He's an individualist. And it's a profound movie. It was very well done. It was written actually by Dalton Trumbo, who had been blacklisted during the McCarthy era in Hollywood. And Kirk Douglas was instrumental in helping to revive Trumbo's career. And so there's a lot of history behind that in just the actors and the making of the movie, let alone the movie and the story itself.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. When your last movie?
I got one more to pick from?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
That was 4.
That's going to be tough. Might have to say either Saving Private Ryan
That's a
or
classic.
Schindler's List.
That's a
It's
classic.
really tough. I couldn't decide between the two.
I think Saving Private Ryan.
Did you like that?
Well, I think it's a little bit more sentimental.
It was very much so. Very
Because
much
then
so.
you imagine yourself, like your child being out at war. And
My great
then-
uncle was there. He was at Normandy.
Oh, really?
He was at Normandy Beach D-Day. Yeah, my great uncle Mike.
And did they tell you a lot about that day?
He talked about some things, but not a lot of
It's probably
things.
the PTSD.
Well, that's the thing is that I think that movie Saving Private Ryan really was masterfully done because it put you there in the throes of combat. And
Yes.
it showed the fog of war. It showed all those things. There was an element of sentimentality to it as well.
Yes.
But definitely it was a masterpiece, and
Yes.
so was Schindler's List.
Oh, that's definitely
it was
a
definitely
classic.
something. Yeah, and it's one of those things where this sounds, I don't know, tough to say, but there's some movies you see them once and you don't watch them again, because it's not just watching a movie; it's you experience that movie,
Experiencing,
and that's
yeah.
how I felt about Schindler's List. It was a movie that you actually experienced.
Yes.
The other one that was very striking was The Joker,
The Joker. Oh, The Joker.
the one with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
That was a movie to me because it wasn't a comic book movie.
No.
It wasn't a DC comic movie. It was a social and political commentary
Yes.
on society, and it was a movie that to me, I watched it once. I'm not going to watch it again. It was,
Really?
Yeah, it was something that you experienced. It's not something that you're going to watch again for
Again.
entertainment.
Yeah. I actually didn't enjoy The Joker as much as but I think because I went with the movies with my nephews who were 10.
Oh yeah.
So they were kind of like, they didn't really understand it. I enjoyed it, but then I couldn't really pay attention because my nephews were fighting in the movie theater because, boys. So we ended up leaving early and...
Next time, take him to see The Fight Club.
Yeah, the Fight Club, yeah. It's so funny when you go to movies with little kids, you don't experience the same thing because somebody will mention a scene and you're like, what scene was that?
Yeah,
It's
really.
oh, I went to the movies with kids, so...
The other one was Uncut Gems.
Oh, I saw that.
What did you
with,
think? Adam Sandler.
It gave me anxiety, and I'm not somebody with anxiety, but then I read the editor's notes, and I think that was the whole point of
It
the
was.
movie. And I think it was the music they put or something. I don't know, but I watched it with Julia Fox. She did really well in that movie, and then Adam Sandler. I liked Adam Sandler in a different style of movie because he
Yeah.
typically plays like the family man, the family dad, or the quirky dad, or it's always family oriented with Adam Sandler. So he played the
lead character.
the lead character of a cholo, not a thug,
Well, but
a hustler, I would say.
Well, the thing was that if you notice the way they filmed it in a very chaotic manner
Yes.
because that was reflecting his chaotic life. We don't want to spoil the movie for you, but
I'm sure.
it's a striking movie. It's something that's one of those movies. I watched it once, I won't watch it again.
But then also, you've also been in those situations, maybe not so like you owe people money or you need to, you're not in like the hustle world, but like sometimes when you...
So tell me, how long did you work in corrections?
I worked 7 years.
You learned a lot, didn't you?
Yes.
You learned a lot about that sort of stuff.
Yes, and I also have my master's in public relations with an emphasis on psychology.
Really? Okay.
Yes, so I always pay attention to little things.
So you've got me figured out already.
No. Psychology is much more than that. But
Okay.
typically, you pick up on cues. Some people are really good. They have really good poker faces. But typically, if you want to know something about somebody, you don't have to figure it out. They typically tell you, especially when you first meet them.
Okay.
So, for example, people will say, some people will say, I love to argue, but I don't. And then later on you figure out that they actually do love to argue. Or some people say, I am a walking red flag, but I'm really not. Like, I'm just a loving person that loves everybody. And then you get to meet them and they're actually a walking red flag. So
Let's take a quick break here. I want to check and see what our ETA is.
Yes.
Lieutenant, how far are we from our turnoff?
2 miles.
We're about 2 miles from Cesar Chavez Boulevard, and right now things have come to pretty much a standstill. They're moving very slow. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go and take a break now, and we'll sign off, and we'll come back on when we get to Moctezuma Park for the last event of the 7th annual Mayor's International Bike Raid before they go into Mexico and celebrate at Benito Juarez Park. We're going to take a break here for now. We'll see you when we get to the park.